Welcome to the Variety Studio for our panel on supporting actress in film. We have with us today Kerry Washington from Django Unchained, Kristen Stewart from On the Road, Lorraine Toussaint from Middle of Nowhere, and Rosemary DeWitt from Promised Land and Your Sister's Sister. A doubleheader for you today. I just want to start off by asking you guys sort of talk a little bit about your roles in each film and what you connected with most with your character and what was sort of the most alien part of that character that was to connect to. And Carrie, you can go first.
I quickly moved my head.
I still saw you there.
My character's name is Broomhilda von Schaft, which is already was really fascinating for me because I've never played a character with a German name before. But she, the film is, Django Unchained is a romance, Western, Tarantino adventure, but it's set in the context of the pre-Civil War South, so it's set in the context of slavery. And so that's why my character has that name, because as you know, slaves got their names from the people who owned them, and she was owned by a German family. So that in itself was what was foreign to me, was to play a woman who is living in a time when she is not identified as being a human being, that she's identified as being property according to our Constitution. So kind of wrapping my head around that and what that meant for somebody to live without her freedom, without being able to say publicly that she's a person and own property and get married and be able to hold on to her children. All of those details are what was most foreign to me about her.
What did you connect with the most with her?
I think what I connected to the most was her belief in her own humanity despite the world around her. Her belief in her own value, even though she lived in a world that said you can't be married, you can't have property, you can't be a woman, a free woman. She so believes in her marriage and in her man and in her life and in her value that she holds on to that, and that their love is able to rise above that very institution. That was what inspired me most about her, her strength.
Kristen, can you talk about On the Road in your role?
I'd read the book when I was a freshman in high school, and there was no way in hell, like no portion of hell where I thought that I could ever play a part like that. And I would have done anything on the movie. I would have done craft service on the movie. So when I got the part, I did a really irresponsible thing, which was take a role that you really don't think that you can play. And she, only in that she does sort of, she represents one of those people that you want to like just run after. And she really lets her face hang out. And considering she's a girl in a book that you're not always too with what's going on in her heart and in her mind, really. She's on the sort of outskirts of the story. It was difficult for me to just think like, there were so many dots for me to connect before it made sense for me to play a girl that was so completely, exuberantly, outwardly, all the time, just generously giving herself. And but at the same time, I think the only reason that you identify with, the only reason you're drawn to things is because even if those aspects are really buried deep, they are there somewhere. And this thing, more than anything I've ever done in my life, like shook me up and was like, bring it out now. And yeah, so that was fun.
Was there anything about the character that sort of was different, playing it in the movie, that was different from the image of the character you had in the book?
I think getting to know the woman behind the character kind of changed things for everyone. I mean, we were all playing very, very real people that we kind of became. We were sort of allowed to, or like brought into their families almost. So like suddenly it becomes the most. I mean, you have personal pressures. You love the book. You can either kill that character dead on the page or not. But in this case, it was more than that. It was like every time we could literally look up and be like, "Ugh, okay, I got it. I got you." And that was different. I didn't really know that we were going to have that we were going to be privy to as much as we were.
Lorraine, talk about your part in Middle of Nowhere, please.
I loved the part because there was so much on the page, but there was so much that wasn't on the page. And Ava DuVernay's script was so available and open to be filled by the actor. And so I fell in love with the part just 5-10 pages into it. The thing that I loved about playing her is that she's a mother who loves fiercely. And I know what that feels like. And once I could craft the role around loving, no matter what that looked like, because it often comes out in unloving ways, but it's really motivated by love. It was kind of an homage to someone I love who doesn't know how to love. And so that moved me, and that was easy to connect to. The interesting part, which wasn't really difficult because as an actor you get to a certain age where you begin to really not care how things look. That's very freeing. And so it's definitely not a vanity part. And I remember the first day on the set kind of going, okay, are we gonna go there? Oh, what the hell, let's go there. You know, are you gonna wear the bra that looks like you're not wearing a bra? You're just gonna go really braless. Okay, no, let's just go there. Let's go there. And so I watched the film a little bit like, a little cringy, but really riveted to myself because I'm really pleased at how brave I have become as an actor and how willing I've become to expose myself and to say, you know, I really don't, we don't actually wake up looking like this. So it was lovely.
Well, the thing that's really struck me in the movie is that, I mean, she's a tough cookie. She is judgmental and harsh often, and yet I don't think you ever lose sympathy for her. I think you always can manage to convey where she was coming from, that she wanted the best for her kids, and that was just the means that she had to convey it.
Yeah, there's such wonderfully flawed characters, and at the center of regret and fear and hope and shame and grace, these characters manage to find their lives and do the best they can. And you see them you see my character at every moment doing the very, very best she can. And there's grace in that.